there is the misconception that every dog wearing a muzzle is aggressive. They don't have to negatively affect your dog's life.
I think that's such a great sentiment.
Not all dogs are muzzled due to aggressive behaviour. We're not still demonising the ones that are. The reasons people are wanting a muzzle is a little bit concerning. We're really passionate about turning the number one reason for muzzle training a dog to be just in case. Break the stigma that's attached to muzzles.
Hello. Did you know that a dog wearing a muzzle doesn't necessarily mean they're aggressive? In today's episode, we're exploring why muzzles can actually be a sign of responsible ownership and why it's time to challenge the assumptions people make when they see a dog in a muzzle. Before we dive in, just a quick reminder, this podcast is brought to you by Tug-E-Nuff. We're all about helping dogs thrive through play, and if you fancy checking out our toys or training tips, then head to tug-e-nuff.com. Alright, let's get into it. So in this episode, you'll learn why a muzzle isn't a mark of a bad or dangerous dog, the many reasons dogs might wear muzzles, and why that's totally okay, and practical tips for normalising muzzles and supporting dogs who wear them. Today's guest is Annie, who's been doing incredible work supporting the Muzzle Movement, an initiative dedicated to reducing stigma and promoting education around muzzle use for dogs. From working with vets and trainers to providing resources for owners, Annie's at the forefront of helping people see muzzles for what they really are, a tool for safety, comfort and freedom. Annie joined the Muzzle Movement during their Kickstarter campaign and now works full-time as their Community Education and Engagement Officer, and we'll find out exactly what that means in the episode. With over a decade of experience in dog rescue, welfare and behaviour, she's passionate about supporting both owners and professionals, whether that's through running fitting events, showing expert advice, or simply offering a reassuring voice to guardians who feel alone. We'll also hear about her two dogs, Flora the Chihuahua and Nellie, her muzzled American Cocker Spaniel, and they're definitely very close to her heart. Well, welcome to Positive Playtime, Annie. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you so much for having me along. I really appreciate you inviting me on. Very excited.
You're so welcome. And really great. It's really great to have you here, so we can talk all things muzzles. And I'm sure people have got lots of questions and things that that you guys can enlighten us about muzzles, and more than that, about rethinking muzzles. But before we kick off, we ask every guest this: how have you got a dogs, Annie?
Yeah, I've got two dogs. So I have a Chihuahua called Flora, who is as sassy as you would imagine.
Okay.
Yeah, they are big dogs in little dog bodies. I love her to pieces. And I also have a American Cocker Spaniel called Nellie. She looks like a little teddy bear who will take chunks out of people and dogs if she feels she needs to. So she has introduced me to being a muzzled dog guardian.
Yes.
She's not what you would typically expect to see in a muzzle, but I think it's really important to remember, any dog can show those behaviours, and yeah, Nellie certainly fulfills that for me.
Okay. So if Flora and Nellie had a superpower, what would that be? And they don't have to have the same, they can have different ones.
Yeah, they would definitely have different ones. They're very different personalities and characters. Flora is very sassy. She's very confident. She loves her mama. Her superpower would definitely be her sense of smell. Okay. She can sniff a crumb of food a mile away. So super sniffs for sure would be Flora's special superpower. Nellie would be super barks. The dog barks at everything. She's very, very noise sensitive. She's had a tough start, bless her. But yeah, she barks at everything. Whatever emotion she's feeling, she barks. And it's one of those that really goes through you. And she loves to bark at the TV as well, so that's always fun.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so first of all, it'd be really great to kind of understand a little bit about you. So you work for the Muzzle Movement, you're Community Education and Engagement Officer. What is the Muzzle Movement, first of all, and what does your job entail?
Okay, so the Muzzle Movement is, we primarily make muzzles for dogs. We created a really new and innovative design of muzzle. They look very different to your traditional muzzles that are on the market, but that is very intentional. They look quite huge, but that's because we wanted to design them with pant space and dog welfare in mind. But we're much more than just a pet product company. Our founder, Clara, I worked with her previously in rescue. She has a Master's in Clinical Animal Behaviour, and a majority of the team are ex-rescue trainers, behaviourists as well. So there's a lot of knowledge and stuff on the team and a lot of experience. And yeah, we wanted to create muzzles that are different, that are fit for purpose, that suit the dogs who need them, and they're really bright and colourful as well, which is trying to break the stigma that's attached to muzzles. So yeah, my role is community education and engagement. It's very varied. I do all sorts.
Okay.
So I've just started doing this kind of thing, so speaking at conferences and doing podcasts and stuff. I write all of our training articles, all of our kind of educational leaflets and stuff like that. I've written for magazines. I'm in charge of our fitting days, our affiliate scheme, lots of like building relationships with rescues and education sessions at rescues. So it's a hugely varied role. A small team, there's about 12 of us. So if anyone's on holiday, I will hop on to muzzle making or shipping or customer service. So yeah, it's a bit of everything. This is not a job I ever expected myself to come into. I don't think any of us did. We're all just kind of here like, what has happened? Yeah, because none of us are from this kind of manufacturing / business world. We are mainly trainers and behaviourists. So yeah, that's kind of where I came from through rescue really. But I've worked with dogs all of my adult life, so they're an absolute passion. And yeah, Muzzles has become a big sort of special interest for me.
And I guess that's kind of come from your own experience as well, from Nelly, and needing to do that to keep her safe and those people around her.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, having worked in rescue, you do use muzzles a lot. So my role was a rehabilitation trainer, so it was working with some of the more complex dogs within the centre, and some of them did have bite history, so it was a case of them being muzzled as a safety measure. So I did have a lot of experience with muzzles prior, and it was frustrating that there wasn't a muzzle that was doing all of the jobs that we really wanted it to do, and they all looked very similar. They were all quite dark colours. They were all kind of only available from places that perhaps also sold aversive tools as well. That was a frustrating thing. But yeah, I think having this new option opens a lot of doors for professionals and guardians who are working with muzzled dogs. And yeah, having Nelly, I adopted her after I started at the Muzzle Movement. So muzzling was, forefront of my mind anyway, but yeah, she certainly is a dog who has to be muzzled. She needs to be muzzled for her safety. So it does bring it down to a personal level for me as well.
Awesome. Okay. So thinking about or rethinking about muzzles, I guess that's kind of what the Muzzle Movement's all about. But what are some of the biggest misconceptions people still have when they see a dog wearing one?
Absolutely. So yes, there is lots of misconceptions. The thing we hear the most is they look like Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, it's the appearance of muzzles. That's what people always jump to, is how they look. There is the misconception that every dog wearing a muzzle is aggressive. I would say more recently we are seeing the flip side of that as well. So I think it's important to remember that a lot of dogs who are muzzled are aggressive, or are used to using aggressive behaviour, and that's why they're wearing a muzzle. And that's not a bad thing. It's sort of like we often say not all muzzled dogs are aggressive, and then that can sometimes make guardians of muzzled dogs feel a bit like, oh, well, mine is, but that's still okay. Whatever the reason is for muzzling, it's okay. And yeah, I think what we're seeing is a bit of a flip side now, in that since the XL bully ban, muzzles have been a lot more in the public eye, and the general public have had a shift in perception, and we are seeing a lot more people being understanding that not all dogs are wearing muzzles because they've shown aggressive behaviour, and that sometimes doesn't work in our favour. So for myself, who has this cute little fluffy thing that wears the muzzle, I actually don't mind a touch of stigma, because it does mean people give us space. No matter how much I'm anxious, give me space gear I dress Nelly up in, nobody cares, because she looks like a baby cocker. Like, she's got this round, like, cute little face, big bug eyes. She looks like a baby cocker. So people just assume she's a little puppy and just ignore all of the stuff asking us for space. So the muzzle really did help people to sort of stand up and listen and be like, oh, actually, she's wearing a muzzle, you know, we won't approach her. But since the XL bully ban, I have had more people approaching. But I think the important thing is to have a dialogue with the guardian. So if it's safe to do so and it's appropriate to do so, have that conversation with the guardian. Say, oh, I love that you've muzzled your dog. That's really sensible. What are they muzzled for? And just find out why. Because it could be that Nellie's muzzled for scavenging or something. But she is muzzled for aggressive behaviour, and I do want that space. Whereas a lot of, obviously, XL bully guardians and stuff, their dogs are super friendly. They're literally only wearing the muzzle because they legally have to. So in those situations, it would be really nice for the public to approach and have that interaction. So I think it's really important to have a chat with the other end of the lead and see what the reason is.
Yeah, and I guess that really helps kind of alleviate that stigma, as you said at the beginning there. It's kind of, if you have that conversation with somebody about why their dog is muzzled, you know, especially if you know, as with the Bully XL, you know, issue with people having to muzzle those dogs, it makes them feel less concerned, I guess, or less stigmatized, really, that their dogs got to wear this because they've been labelled as aggressive just because of their breed.
Exactly. And like I said, I think it's just important to open that dialogue and have that conversation. So, you know, one, it does make them feel less ostracised, less less kind of I don't know what that word is, where you're just feeling I don't know, probably feeling a bit down about having a muzzled dog. That's a perfectly normal reaction. So to have somebody just approach you and give you that compliment of, what you're doing is so responsible, I love that, what's the reason? It just opens that conversation, and it's really, really nice, and it's a supportive thing to do with another muzzled dog guardian. In terms of misconceptions as well, I think there is a lot of misconception about muzzle use in general. So what we've kind of like looked into, what are the most Googled questions about muzzles, like what are people asking? And some of them are really quite concerning. So a lot of people are searching which is the best muzzle to stop my dog barking, and which muzzle is safest for long-term use, being left overnight, things like that. So the actual understanding of what a muzzle is for, not necessarily the behaviours that the dog shows because they're wearing a muzzle, but the reasons people are wanting a muzzle is a little bit concerning. You know, those situations, those scenarios, trying to have a dog's mouth so contained that they can't bark is obviously incredibly dangerous. I think there's a lot of work to do in terms of education of what people think muzzles are for as well. So not just the judgment side of things, but people's actual desires to use a muzzle are a little bit off sometimes. So I think we need to do a lot of education there as well.
Awesome. Okay, yeah. I think that's interesting. I hadn't even thought about it in that way. It's that is concerning. So we've talked about a couple of reasons why people muzzle their dogs, but could you talk us through some more different reasons why dogs might wear a muzzle beyond what people typically assume they're for? Yeah,
of course. So you sort of anecdotally, that the dogs that we're seeing at the Muzzle Movement coming in for fitting days and to see us at events and stuff, the top three reasons generally are because the dog uses aggressive behaviour. So whether that's reactivity to other dogs, people, whether they've got a bite history, perhaps like frustration at sporting events and stuff's quite a common one as well. So kind of like snapping at the start line of Canicross is a really sort of common one that we see, that they just want to get going but they need a bit of protection just to get them past the line. The second most common reason we're coming across is definitely scavenging behaviours. So dogs that are snaffling things up that they shouldn't eat. So my Flora is definitely one of those. We just don't have a muzzle tiny enough for her yet, but we're working on it. Eating things that they shouldn't. We've had dogs that have had like multiple serious surgeries to remove foreign bodies from their intestines and stuff, or that they've had poisonings from eating things that they really shouldn't have. So scavenging is a very common one. And obviously breed-specific legislation, dog control orders, I think when we're thinking of legal requirements as well, there's a few kind of outside the box ones. So lots of different countries have different breed legislations and laws and stuff. And there's some like local requirements as well. So in a lot of European countries, if you're travelling on public transport, so if you're using trains or buses, dogs legally have to be muzzled. Some countries enforce it more than others, but usually you do have to be carrying a muzzle with you to be compliant, at least if your dog's not actually muzzled. So that often catches people out. They want, they get a dog, they want to travel the world with it, take it on holiday, and then all of a sudden they're getting ready to pack to go to Italy, and they're like, oh, actually I need to find a muzzle very promptly to be able to legally take my dog on transport and stuff. So it's considering different countries' requirements as well, and different breed legislation. It varies everywhere. Ireland's got very different laws, Spain's got very different laws when it comes to banned breeds and stuff. So yeah, that's really important to look into if you are going to be travelling or moving with your dog. Prey drive as well. So we often see lots of ex-racing greyhounds wearing muzzles because they've been trained their whole life to chase the small furry thing. They're not perhaps going to recognise that a little Yorkie darting out in front of them isn't that rabbit. So yeah, it's important to consider if your dog's high prey drive risk. Close handling, so grooming, veterinary exams, those kinds of situations where you're up close and personal with a dog who's quite worried of handling or new people. Rough play is a really common one as well. So you might have a dog who's super social, and particularly when we're thinking of like rescue scenarios, the dog's very sociable, but they are kennelled for 23 hours a day. They're frustrated, they're fed up. So when they do get the opportunity to mix and socialise, it's a bit sort of it's high energy, it's high arousal. Yeah. And in those scenarios, it might be that it could escalate and just tip over into something a little bit more nippy and snappy. So having a muzzle in that situation allows them to get that sort of energy out, lets them have the play and socialise, but it keeps everyone safe. So yeah, that's another consideration. A lot of people really enjoy muzzle training as just an extra skill, and as in preparation for emergency use. We're really passionate about turning the number one reason for muzzle training a dog to be just in case. You never know what's going to happen with your dog, and it might be that your really soppy cavalier gets hit by a car one day, and you have to pick them up. They're uncomfortable, they're in a lot of pain. You never know at what point they're going to snap. We're really kind of thinking about chronic pain situations as well. So if you've got a dog that's diagnosed with arthritis, again, they might be the most tolerant, the most comfortable, comfortable with people. They might enjoy going to the vets. They're all happy and waggy and willing to see all the vets and stuff. But after months and months and months, possibly even years of chronic pain, it just takes them to go into the vet practice on a hot day and be squeezed in the wrong place for them to turn around and go, actually, that's my limit. So we are really passionate as well about promoting muzzle training at the point of diagnosis of chronic pain conditions that, they're going to be there for a long time. Let's just muzzle train them just in case they do escalate to that situation. So there's lots of reasons for it, and there's lots of reasons that we really want to push that people perhaps wouldn't think of.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I think I'm really interested in this just in case philosophy that you've got there, and I think that's a really interesting thing to explore a little bit in terms of what things can people do to maybe start, even if they don't have a muzzle right now, to start considering how they might introduce that to their dog.
Absolutely. So, I mean, one of the most sensible things you can do to start off is practice, set up situations where your dog can practice putting their nose into novel objects.
Okay, yeah.
So it sounds really kind of vague, but it can literally be anything. So if you're perhaps setting up a bit of a free work session or a sniffy session for them, or playtime, if you get some plant pots, some clean empty yogurt pots, little boxes, mugs, cups, anything like that that's kind of vaguely muzzle shaped, pop them on the floor, scatter some treats in them, put toys in them, and it's encouraging your dog to boop their nose into something that's unusual and a bit different, which is really the foundations of muzzle training. We're just teaching them that your nose going into something where it's a bit enclosed, it's a bit different, is okay. So that's like a really good early foundation stage that anyone can practice at any time before they've even thought of buying a muzzle. I think as well, like thinking about breed specific stuff as well, we are seeing an increase in really sensible guardians bringing in dogs to our fitting days because they're just seeing a few rumblings in the media for particularly cane corsos, American bulldogs, things like that. So they're breeds that aren't specifically targeted by breed specific legislation at the moment, but I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that, you know, one day more breeds could be added. And I think it's so forward thinking and sensible of these guardians to be going, I'm hearing, you know, increased reports. It's not necessarily that there is increased situations. It's just that the media are moving on to that next target, I suppose. So that's a really sensible option as well. Very sad that we're in this situation, but incredibly sensible. So yeah, those I would definitely be considering it with those breeds as well. And you know, think about your breed. Is it genetically predisposed to a condition that's going to cause chronic pain? So again, coming back to your Cavaliers with the you know, like the brain situations that they can sometimes have, any dogs that are more prone to hip and elbow dysplasia, thinking about doing early interventions with those dogs in anticipation of, you know, potentially needing it just in case.
Yeah. Okay. And I think, you know, just touching on a couple of other things that you said there, I know you guys run these fitting days. So can you tell us a little bit more about those, what they involve, and also if people wanted to have a, you know, start thinking about muzzles and getting one fitted, where can they find out more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we hold 2 fitting days every month at our unit. So one is normally on a Tuesday and then one's on a Saturday. They book up, we release the dates about a month in advance and they book up in a couple of weeks. So I think we've got a few spaces for the September one still, but yeah, you can find it on our website. So we basically just hold a day. You've got one-to-one sessions so that you don't have to worry about bringing your dog around other dogs. We've got a private room at the back of our unit. We're in a really nice, quiet industrial estate, so you don't have to worry about bumping into loads of people and stuff. So the fittings are run by myself and normally Meg, who is ex-trainer as well. So we're well practiced in sort of dog behaviour and making sure that they feel really comfortable. It doesn't matter if your dog hates muzzles, if they've had a really negative experience. It doesn't matter if your dog hates people and really doesn't want to be around people. We have ways and means of doing it so that we can be completely hands-free. We can even be out of the room for you. You can just get some footage for us and show us once the dog's back in the car, and we can give our assessment of fit and stuff. So yeah, there's lots of ways of dealing with dogs who are a little bit more complex. That's not a problem. So we basically just fit them the right muzzle. We don't always find a fit. Our muzzles are standard sizes. They're kind of off the shelf. So there are going to be times where we just can't find a match, unfortunately, but we can recommend you other brands, other companies that, you know, we're confident in. We've not got a problem with that. The priority is definitely finding the dog a well-fit muzzle, and if that's not ours, that's fine. And yeah, we just give you a bit of advice on fitting it. We can talk to you about tweaks and stuff to be made to the muzzle. So if it's not a perfect fit, we can often make it better. So the muzzles can be like boiled and stretched or boiled and narrowed. There's a few kind of hacks with the noseband for making it a bit longer or shorter if required.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, that's great. And people can find that on your website. The
Absolutely, yeah. So if you go on muzzle fitting, you'll find the map and you'll find a link to booking in with us as well.
Awesome, great, okay. So for owners whose dogs wear muzzles, what advice would you give to help them feel more confident and supported?
Definitely don't worry about what other people think, which is a lot easier said than done. I get that in, you know, not just sort of muzzled dog areas. It is really hard to just, you know, to not worry about what other people's opinions are. But try not to. You know deep down that you are doing what is responsible and what is right for you and your dog to keep them safe, to keep the public safe, to keep you safe. And that is the best thing that you can do for your dog. The perception is changing. We're seeing at our public facing events, the message is being spread that muzzles are safe, they're not scary, it's nothing to worry about. And like I said before, breed specific legislation has really shone a spotlight for the general public that not all muzzled dogs are muzzled due to aggressive behaviour. And like I said before, if your dog is muzzled due to aggressive behaviour, that's okay too. By us saying not all dogs are muzzled due to aggressive behaviour, we're not still demonising the ones that are. We're just saying there's lots of different reasons to consider. But yeah, if you have a dog that does show aggressive behaviour and you muzzle, that is so responsible, and it's a brave and safe thing to do. If your dog is muzzled because of breed-specific legislation, I would just really urge you to try not to feel too sad about it. I'm so sorry that you are in that situation. It is rubbish. It's unfair. I don't agree with it at all. I don't think it's helpful. And I really wish it wasn't this way for you. But I can't see things changing anytime soon. And unfortunately, it is the cards you've been dealt, which is super unfair. But try to see that with proper muzzle training, with a well-fit muzzle and good conditioning, they don't have to negatively affect your dog's life. A dog who is muzzled can still live a fulfilled life. They can still do a lot of the things that a non-muzzled dog can do. So please don't feel like you're doing a horrible thing by putting a muzzle on your dog. It's really not that case.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Actually, it's really important for people to feel confident and happy in that situation. And the cards that they've not necessarily, they've been dealt them, they've just got to deal with it. So being, and I think choosing one of your muzzles is a really, because they're fun. And that sounds really stupid. They're colourful and they look good. And you can really accessorize your dog with them. I know that's a really vapid thing to say, but it is essentially they're not, as you mentioned at the beginning, those old style ones which are grey or black or brown, I guess designed to blend into the background. You're being proud about the fact that you're doing the right thing for your dog.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's also a really important point. Like we obviously think our muzzles are cute. We think we want them to look like that. We've chosen the pretty colours for that exact reason. We don't want them to blend in. It gives you good visibility. So like in my scenario, if Nellie's strutting around in her pink muzzle, people see it and they give us space, which is really, really helpful for us. But also people aren't intimidated by it, which is important. It's more of just, okay, I can see that she's muzzled, I will give her some space. It's not like oh my God, she's muzzled. It's a very different kind of response that you get. And we get that feedback all the time, which is why we feel confident that we're doing the right thing in having the colourful muzzles and stuff. People still want black muzzles. It's one of our biggest requests all the time. Can you do a black muzzle? Okay. And that's fine, because not everyone's preference is a pastel lilac muzzle. Like, we understand. So yeah, it's not that there's not a place for them, but there certainly is a place for colour and for just softening that image a little bit as well. So yeah, it just helps with customer compliance. If you are a trainer and you've got to have that difficult conversation with the client where you say, actually I do think it would be sensible to start muzzle training. If you can sort of show them this, pretty blue one, or whatever their colour preference is, look, it's going to match your dog's gear. It doesn't need to be this way. It is just being safe and not scary. It is almost like an accessory in some ways, and sometimes that's just what people need to get on board, and if that's what works, that's fine.
Yeah, awesome. So obviously Tug-E-Nuff, we're all about play. That's really the core of everything we do. And I have heard in the past, muzzle dogs can't play. Now I think we need to dispel that. So what type of things can muzzle dogs do when they're out and about to kind of keep that play going?
Absolutely. So I think you're absolutely right that previously muzzle dogs haven't been able to play. I think depending on the style of muzzle you've got, will depend on whether they've got access, going to be able to have access to the toys. But I think with the right features and with a comfortable, well-fit muzzle, their life doesn't have to be restrictive. It doesn't have to look wildly different, and they can still take part in those fun activities. We've got dogs in our muzzles that can still use licky mats, that can do snuffle games, they can do scent work. They're off out there doing agility. And yeah, absolutely. We love to work with Tug-E-Nuff in showing that a lot of the Tug-E-Nuff toys fit through the treat hole at the front, and dogs can still engage in tuggy play and interactive play with their guardians, which is amazing. That they can still do that sort of interactive play.
Yeah, no, that's really cool, and I think that I can think of one video that we'll definitely link to in the show notes, which shows, you know, that interactive tug game still happening even with that dog wearing the muzzles. I said we're all about that. This would be a great time to bring in the fact that we've got this free ebook that people can download with some games in there. There's definitely some games that muzzled dogs could play, and in fact we'll try and signpost to the ones in that ebook. So head to the link in the show notes. Have you seen any powerful success stories of dogs and owners who've benefited from embracing muzzle use?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of them might be the dog that you're referencing in the video. It might not be, I'm not sure. There's been quite a few that we've seen using it. But yeah, so one is a pair of dogs. We've got Rupert and Kiko. So Rupert is a Cocker Spaniel. His guardian decided to muzzle train him as part of his behaviour modification programme around dogs. He's quite not necessarily really active. He just didn't like dogs coming into his space. He was quite a worried dog. And unfortunately, again, being the breed that he is, people often don't listen. And even when you ask them to keep your dog away, they still let them bowl over because my dog's friendly. That's great, mine's not. So him being muzzled has meant that his world could be a little bit bigger. He could go to different places. He's been to the beach wearing his muzzle. And his guardian has found that it does allow him, it does make people give him more space. They do stand up and listen and go, oh, okay, that's fine. We can give Rupert a bit more room. And he definitely still plays with his Tug-E-Nuff through it. So we've seen lovely videos of him playing through the muzzle with his Tug-E-Nuff. So that's really fab. And his brother Kiko, who's a rescue pointer, he doesn't really show any aggressive behaviour. He's super friendly with people and dogs. He's a Canicross boy. He's a really awesome dog. He is a prolific scavenger. So he came to us for a fit-in, and I'm not joking when I say he was climbing on my head to get to the treats behind me. He was such a foodie dog. And yeah, his mum was really worried about him snaffling bits up out and about. So he's got a muzzle to protect him from scavenging, and that means that he can have more freedom out and about. So she's able to let him off on his long line a little bit more because she's less worried about being close to him to kind of interrupt him eating anything that he shouldn't be. He's just got that extra level of protection. So that's a really, really, really good pair. Of different reasons of being muzzled, but both have been able to continue living their amazing lives with their amazing guardian. And another one I can think of with, in terms of breed-specific legislation, is a dog called Moose. He's a three-legged bully type. Yes, he's exempted. Moose the tripod. His mum Jade is just phenomenal. She has not let breed-specific legislation get in Moose's way at all. Moose still does everything that he previously did. He just does it with a muzzle on. It's not ideal. We would prefer him to live his life without a muzzle, but it's certainly not got in his way and stopped him from doing things. And I think a lot of that is testament to Jade and the amount of work that she put into early muzzle training. As soon as there was rumblings about this potential ban, she put the work in straight away, and she really made sure that he was fully comfortable, fully confident wearing the muzzle before the actual ban came into place. So it was really kind of proactive training that she put in. And he still does amazing things. He goes to the beach, he socialises, he sleeps in the craziest positions with his muzzle on in the car. He's like face down into the muzzle. He's just not bothered. He goes to his hydrotherapy with his muzzle on. He's an awesome dog. And Jade is an incredible guardian. So I think they're really kind of inspirational pair in terms of not letting the muzzle requirement get in the way. They still live a great life together. In spite of the muzzle. And I think it's important to remember as well that a lot of dogs can live these fulfilled, amazing lives because of a muzzle, not necessarily in spite of. So it can actually open doors that previously weren't open when they weren't muzzled. So like Kiko, for him, he wouldn't have been able to have the kind of long line freedom he wouldn't have had without the muzzle. Having the muzzle on has allowed him that kind of door to open. So it actually can be a really positive thing in a lot of ways too.
I think that's such a great sentiment that, you know, in terms of having their worlds opened up, whether that's opening them up for the first time or keeping the world open and open to them and being able to live their lives to their full. And you know what, their guardians can still have their pets and do the things that they envisage to do.
Exactly.
Because things happen, as you said, it might not necessarily be aggression. It could be any reason why you may need to do that. So I think it's really, really, really positive. So if anybody wants to learn more about the Muzzle Movement or about you, where can they go to find that?
That's fine. So heading to our website is the first port of call, I would say. If you want to see some beautiful images of dogs wearing muzzles, if you want to see some positivity and advocacy, our Instagram is definitely the place to go. We share people's images and videos of their dogs wearing the muzzles, living their lives, living their best lives thanks to the muzzles. But yeah, if you want information about anything to do with our muzzles in general, training, it's all on our website. So if you head to the website, there's an information and support section that I think a lot of people miss. We're going to redesign it a little bit so it's easier to find, but there is tons of information on there. So we've got everything from our kind of organisational relationships to how we make our muzzles, which is actually fascinating. So we've got images from the factory where they're injection moulded, super cool. We've got guidance on how to measure for a muzzle, on muzzle fit, how to choose the best accessories and straps to add to your muzzle if needed. We've got an education section where we talk about target training, which is super useful in preparation for and post muzzle training. We've got introductions to muzzles. Loads and loads of stuff on there for you to read. If you're a professional, there's lots of things we do to work together as well. So we have an affiliate scheme, we have a trade scheme if you wanted to stock us. I will point out that we do only affiliate and work with companies who align with our force-free ethos. We do always double check that first. And we have a new rescue scheme as well as part of our trade scheme. So any kind of registered rescues can sign up as long as they're force-free, and they can get the biggest discount that we offer with no minimum order quantities, so that we can make our muzzles as accessible as possible to rescues. And there's tons of other resources that we've created for professionals to give to their clients and customers or adopters as well. So there is hopefully something we can support you with no matter what question you've got.
Awesome.
And just don't hesitate to get in touch. Drop us an email. If you email info@, that will come straight to me instead of just going into the general system. And I can answer any queries you've got about education, about building relationships.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And we will put a link to the website in the show notes, and anything there that you've signposted, we will highlight for sure. So thanks, Annie, for joining us today. Hope I've learned loads, to be honest. So thank you. And thank you for the incredible work you're doing through the Muzzle Movement to support dogs and their guardians. And so whether your dog wears a muzzle or not, the next time you see one out, remember it's a sign of caring and a responsible owner. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways that I've taken from that, for sure. So if you're looking for enrichment ideas to help your dog thrive, head to Tug-E-Nuff.com for free resources and toys designed to support happy, confident dogs. You can now listen to Positive Playtime on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to check out the Muzzle Movement's website and social channels for more advice, resources, and support. And as I mentioned, we'll pop those links in the show notes. So until next time, happy tugging.